Tonight, 13 investigates Indiana's mysterious jobs numbers. Where the state says there's supposed to be thousands of new jobs, 13 investigates discovered empty fields and deserted factories. Investigative reporter Bob Siegel shows you why the state's numbers do not add up and who's responsible.
From day one, Governor Mitch Daniels has made his top priority very clear.
More jobs, new jobs, hundreds of jobs.
Jobs.
The governor quickly established the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, and it got immediate results. Nestle, Honda, WellPoint, Toyota, big companies brought the state thousands of new jobs. But when it comes to Indiana job numbers, 13 investigates discovered they don't add up.
I don't have a job to go to anymore.
Where are the jobs? Where's the reality?
And it's something the state does not want to talk about.
Why won't you reveal the information? Don't Hoosiers have a right to that?
The state's job numbers really have nothing to do with ribbon cuttings and assembly lines. When the state talks new jobs, it's talking about this. It's a detailed list showing all the companies planning to bring new jobs to Indiana. The Economic Development Corporation calls them Indiana Economic Successes. But 13 investigates discovered many of these economic successes really aren't successes at all. They are empty cornfields and vacant factories where the state claims there are supposed to be thousands of new jobs. In Madison County, a state-of-the-art incinerator with 40 new jobs, it never came here, but it's listed as a success. 1,400 jobs never showed up at this factory in Tipton County. The state lists it as a success.
And the state says this is another success, a $2.3 million facility to build high-efficiency ignition systems. As you can see, it's just a big empty field. The project fell through, and so did the 220 jobs the state says are supposed to be here.
13 investigates found these scenarios all over the state. Each of those red dots is one of the state's economic success stories that fell far short of expectations or simply didn't come true at all. In Bartholomew County, the state lists more than a dozen economic successes, bringing almost 1,500 new jobs. But when we visited some of those successes,
There's no workers in here. This place is shut down.
we found many of the expansion projects never happened. Columbus Components, PMG, MCON, LHP, Cummins, the state says they all added jobs. But local officials admit the reality is much different.
Those jobs never materialized.
They did not. We still have the highest unemployment we've had in years.
That's because the same companies that said they'd add 1,500 jobs in Bartholomew County actually laid off more than 2,000 workers. Workers like Gary Kirk.
It is pretty scarce for employment out there.
Gary and about 400 co-workers all lost their jobs last year at Columbus Components, just a few months after the state listed it as an economic success. Gary left behind 33 years of service, and inside that plant, he also left behind something else.
Do you remember that day that you wrote your name up on that wall?
Yes, I do. I knew the end was near. A lot of people, that was their life. They'd worked there all their life. And then there was no more job there. So I don't see how they can consider that a success story.
Not every deal we announce is going to work out exactly as we planned it to work out. That's just the reality.
Mitch Robe is director of Indiana's Economic Development Corporation. We asked him about his agency's list of economic successes.
Is success maybe too strong of a word?
I don't know that we call it success. I think what you call it is, what we call it is a job commitment.
Well, I'm showing you your report right here. It says Indiana Economic Success. This is your own year-end report.
Okay.
It says Indiana Economic Successes. Should it be Indiana Economic Preliminary Commitments?
They're the first step down the path to successes.
Of course, that doesn't sound quite as good. In fact, that doesn't sound like a job at all.
We're dealing with a political agency that wants to look good and wants to make the governor look good.
Dr. Morton Marcus spent 30 years as director of the Indiana Business Research Center at Indiana University.
12 jobs, 131 jobs.
He is suspicious of the state's economic success numbers because he says they're not actual jobs, they're job commitments.
A commitment is not a reality. A commitment is a statement of hope and aspiration. That's the issue. Where are the jobs? Where's the reality as opposed to the hopes?
The reality is many commitments do lead to jobs, and some companies have actually hired more workers than originally forecast. But there's another reality. Thousands and thousands of jobs featured in state performance reports and in the governor's own campaign ads, they fell through. In fact, our investigation found 40% of jobs listed as Indiana economic successes simply haven't come, and many never will. But we don't hear about that. We just hear about this.
Cut the rip.
Turns out this is one time the governor does not want to discuss jobs. He declined an interview, and Mitch Robe declined to talk specifics. I asked him which companies fulfilled their job promises and which ones did not.
Can we get that list from IEDC?
That's confidential information.
They're not afraid to put company names with dreams, but we can't have company names with reality. It's not sufficient at all for the people of Indiana to be given a list of promises without being given also a list of realization. This is spectacle. This is not reality.
Following our questions, the state has for the first time released adjusted job numbers. This new report claims 13% of job commitments did not turn into actual jobs. Our research shows the real number could be 3 times that high, and the state still won't share any specifics. But it's at least a start, and hopefully the state will now be more open about real job numbers that until now have been shrouded in secrecy. I'm Bob Siegel, Channel 13 Eyewitness News.